Hey everyone, welcome back to The Underswell. I'm Derek Sabori, and today we're going to do another deep dive, put a spotlight on another brand, dive into their website, talk about all of their sustainability initiatives, see what's going on, see how they are talking about it to us, show what they are explaining to us, and see what kind of initiatives they're doing, and really see if they are really tackling sustainability in the way that we want them to. This is a spotlight on Adidas or Adidas. Let's dive in, have a look at their website, and see what we can find. See how they are talking about and tackling sustainability, sustainable development, and focusing on the climate crisis. You ready? Let's dive in. So what I like to do is kind of start with the main homepage and get a sense of what do you see right when you jump on. Are they talking about sustainability from the very get-go? Well, not quite yet. So if we do a little bit of scrolling down, we see some summer vibes going on where you can start to shop what's popular right now, their clothing, shoes, new arrivals. So far, no specific call outs for sustainability yet. Once we get down here though, a little bit further, they do have a great relationship and a partnership, I should say, that they've had with Parley for the oceans, doing some great work on ocean plastics, keeping beaches clean, cleaning up oceans off the beach, ocean-bound plastics, etc. A little bit of probably ocean cleanups. Parley has been kind of a leader in this zone, so that's great. They've done a really awesome shoe as well with Parley. They were one of the first ones to do this, I think, years ago, and ever since I've loved that shoe. Haven't got my hands on it yet, but be sure to check that out. So you can, they've got a Run for the Oceans campaign, which is cool. Some stories, work out a little bit about them. So it's not till we get down here though, it's where we can look, and we'll click here and we'll find sustainability. So we get a sense of what's going on with sustainability. So their first top line story is their ending plastic waste. And that's obviously a really important initiative, something that we have to do, that we've got to tackle. It's really important. So they're talking about making products with recycled materials, making products to be remade, and developing products made with nature. All really good things. We want the world to see the possibilities and take action to help end plastic waste. So we always have places to stay. So great. So we're looking here. Innovation is our solution. So one of their goals, so they're going to start talking about goals here. And I think over on their corporate site, which I have pulled up here as well, where you can check out their sustainability report, I think this is where you're going to be able to see their sustainability goals, targets, etc. So here's their most current report. So we'll pull that one up and have a look there as well. Fact sheet, presentation, financial supplement. We're gonna have to get a sense of, here's sustainability. So over here on their governance tab, or corporate tab. So if we go to sustainability, they've got their focus. So let's have a look real quickly at their targets. See if it jives with what's over here on the main page. So their ambition is to become a more sustainable company. I like this language. This is the language that I always use. They're not necessarily talking about being sustainable, being perfect, being anything besides being better and getting into a good place, right? So it's definitely part of their strategic focus areas. They've got a roadmap for 2025 so that they can drive positive impact. They want to be a pioneer in sustainability, which I think they are and they have become for sure. We will move to a comprehensive consumer-facing sustainable article offering at scale, expand our circular services, work towards achieving climate neutrality. So one thing I noticed here as I was kind of prepping for this, I don't see a lot of talk about net zero, which is where we're going. We're seeing still some talk about climate neutrality, which to me sounds like they're balancing out the emissions that they create. They're balancing them out with offsets. Not what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to measure, assess, and drive down emissions. Somebody as big as Adidas, that's something we would really expect of them. I wonder, in fact, if they have Adidas science-based targets. Let's see if they're enrolled in the Science-Based Targets Initiative. So climate change and decarbonization. So managing the environmental impacts at our own sites and across the entire value chain is a key focus for our work. That's great. We're committed to decarbonization by reducing our absolute energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions and transitioning to clean energy. That's exactly what we're shooting for. And this being in line with science-based targets means that they are going to reduce emissions across their entire value chain by 30% in the next 7 years. And that's going to be against their baseline of 2017, and get down to that climate neutrality or net zero by 2050. So this will be in line with the IPCC recommendations, at least it's pretty close, but they're committed to the Science-Based Targets Initiative. If you don't know about the SBTi's, make sure you go and check that out. Put a link here. We'll find it up here for you as well. But this is a great initiative where brands are signing up to say that, yes, these climate actions that we are taking in our supply chain are enough to help keep our industry, keep our planet, keep us within that 1.5 degrees of global warming. Basically them saying, hey, you can measure it, we're quantifying it, and we're doing our part. So that's really good. So they are talking about scope 1 and 2 emissions. These are the emissions that are coming from their sites and from the energy that they purchase. And then also their greenhouse gas reduction target for their emissions from their deep in their value chain, scope 3. That's from their value chain partners, their manufacturing partners. So that's really good as well. So they're talking about measuring. So this is a really good tool. This was over here in the sustainability section of the adidasgroup.com website, not their main website. So we had to come over here to environmental impact, climate change, and decarbonization. So I know I jumped around a little bit, but what I really like is we can see their goals, and that's what we were looking over here at their target. So 9 out of 10 articles in the next few years will be sustainable. By 2030, the greenhouse gas emissions will be reduced by 30%, and we will increase the scope and application of human rights and environmental due diligence, HREDD. By 2025, we aim to have a system in place to identify and manage high-risk human rights issues across the entirety of our value chain. This is really good. And what I really like here is look how simple these targets are. Scaling up their program to make sure that a majority of their products, 9 out of 10, 90% across their entire line, will be quote unquote sustainable. But they say, and then reducing their emissions per product by 15%. And they're calling it environmentally preferred materials. It'd be great if we could click and link and go find out what they mean by that. Hitting these science-based targets and caring about people. Super simple, really good. Those are obviously the most important things. Here are their targets for their own operations, emissions, water, and abfall. I've never heard that term. So let's do a quick real look and see what that is. English translation, mill, reuse, rubbish, garbage, trash. Okay, great. Maybe that's German. So that's their waste. So they are aiming to reduce waste, 95% diversion rate, really good. Supply chain, energy, water, chemicals, 80% of their supplier facilities to achieve the highest level of compliance with the ZDHC roadmap, or conformance we call that. That's really good. And let's see, wasteful output, 80% of their suppliers that operate on-site effluent plants, which means all the water that's coming out of the tailpipes in the factory, they will also achieve this wastewater foundational level. For their product, they will have 9 out of 10 will be quote unquote sustainable, made of to a significant degree with environmentally preferred materials. You can find a good definition of this. Textile Exchange uses this, which I think is really good, to this language of what we call preferred. Nothing is perfect. There are trade-offs with everything. So this is why it's so important for you to dive in, keep doing work. They're going to reduce emissions per product. And beyond that, 30% reductions in their entire value chain and achieving climate neutrality. Again, I'm a little bit surprised that they're not using the net zero terminology, but that's okay. And they've also got targets for 2025 on social impacts, which is something you don't often see as well. So health and safety in their owner operations, social impact, fair wages, and gender wage parity for workers in their tier 1 suppliers. This is impressive stuff, right? As we're getting deeper into the supply chain, this is hard for them to actually control, but they do have a big influence. So they're going to take advantage of that. And then their entire value chain, they're going to have a system in place to identify those high risk human rights issues. You guys, these are really good, impressive goals. I also like that they are not too far out. We're just kind of 2025. We're just a couple years out. One thing that we don't often see, yes and no, hit or miss. We'll see brands kind of come back, remind us of this, and check in and give us an assessment against these targets. That's what we really want to see. If we come back over here, these are their highlights on their main consumer-facing page. The average consumer may or may not come over to this group page and start to see all the things that they're offering here in their sustainability tab, right? Which is how they're engaging with stakeholders, the history of their movement, their more sustainable materials. This is where we would dive in and see how they're defining that, how they're handling chemicals and water, and what they're doing about their impacts on biodiversity. You've heard about me talk about the importance of biodiversity. We're seeing this everywhere. Brands are expected to be addressing biodiversity. Remember, biodiversity, diversity of life in a system, that strong system creates natural resources, right? So without strong biodiversity, we don't have a strong ecosystem. Without a strong ecosystem, there are no resources for us. So this is ultimately always, about us. They've got a social impacts program. We've already seen the human rights, supply chain, workers in the supply chain, employees, communities. So this is the broad spectrum, sort of from start to finish. Transparency, their reporting policies, their supplier lists, and then really important, how to get in touch with somebody if a supplier has an issue with sustainability. So you can click on that. Let's go over here and have a look at their supplier list and see how easy it is to get a sense of where products are made, who's making them. So they're committed to transparency and public disclosure. They've fully disclosed their global factory list. They've been doing this by country since 2007. This extends to primary suppliers, subcontractors, licensees, and suppliers where a majority of wet processes are carried out. This is great, and their disclosure comes from an industry-leading website, the Fair Factories Clearinghouse. So I'll put this in here. This has sort of become a high-level norm when it comes to transparency reporting. So fairfactories.org. You'll find a lot of reference to them if we're talking about the Clean Clothes campaign, the Transparency Pledge, or the work that Fashion Revolution is doing. The accuracy of this list is heavily dependent on the disclosure provided to us by our primary suppliers. So there's a little disclaimer, I should say. But ideally, you want your supplier list or their supplier list to be searchable, downloadable, so that NGOs, people that need it, can get access to it and be able to search. If they hear that something is going on in a particular factory, then we should be able to get a sense of what brands were there and how we might be able to get a hold of and have an influence on what's going on at the factory. So you can see so many things, all the different countries that they are in. I wonder if they'll allow us to search it and set a filter on it. I'm sure you can. So we'll put a filter on there so you can get a sense of all the countries that they're producing in: Bangladesh, Cambodia, China, El Salvador, Honduras, India, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Pakistan, Taiwan, Thailand, Turkey, and Vietnam, all over the world, obviously. And I wonder how many suppliers they have. 180 suppliers they've got listed on here. So that's their primary suppliers. Then they have licensees. Oh, that was just their wet processors, guys. If we go to their primary suppliers, let's have a look here. How many? Somebody want to take a guess? 509. So let's give Adidas, any of these big companies that are doing this, some real credit. Just to manage this, probably upwards of 1,000 different suppliers, 299, 500, 300, almost 1,000 that are on this sheet. And I've heard brands and managers and leaders worry about, well, once you're putting out your factories, then can somebody just steal them from you, or how we want to protect our factory source? I promise you, if Adidas is doing it, if H&M is doing it, all the factories are out there. You can easily find them. They are not going to put their, relationship with somebody like Adidas at risk by saying, hey, we can make a shoe that looks just like the Adidas one for you, right? You're going to have to earn your way into there. So I think that idea of being afraid is kind of an old product, concern that really doesn't apply so much anymore. Also, back onto the sustainability, we saw the social impacts, the human rights, environmental impacts. I'm interested to have a look at their material choices and what that means. So let's go over here, and environmental impacts, more sustainable material, circular services. While that's loading, I'm going to come back over here to hear overall what they're doing. So their innovations in their products, they're replacing virgin polyester with recycled. They are rethinking the standard materials they use to include recycled and natural materials, and even exploring new, more sustainable material innovations. Their Parley Oceans plastic is just one example. So that is plastic made of recycled plastic, but a good amount of that was ocean-bound plastic. Some of it might have even been cleaned up from the ocean. I love this shoe where they did the fully circular shoe made of recycled materials, totally recyclable, one monofilament fiber that could be used. That was a really cool product. This is made to be remade was their story there. They had some really cool videos. One is all you may ever need. Wear it down, then return it. We'll make it into something new. The end of one product is the beginning of the next. So this is circularity, right? This is what we're hoping for in circularity. And so they're calling it their made to be remade innovation. What's interesting, I think this used to be called Future Loop. So I think they've changed the name of this a bit, but they've got a whole section on here on what that means, talking about circular fashion, creation, designed right, designed for circularity, keep it in play, keep it at the high level, keep those material inputs valuable, give it a new beginning, and do it again. So over and over. So cool video here. You're going to be able to see one and done innovations, etc. So great talk on circularity. I really think there's a lot in here, guys. You could really dive into their website and really have some fun learning about sustainability, checking out all the things that they're doing. So that's where that ends on the consumer side. So you could probably go down a few rabbit holes, learn more about each of those, and let's go to Futurecraft real quick. So they've got a give back up there. You saw the give back. So Futurecraft is that circular design as well. That's what I was right. They still have that. They did a collaboration with Allbirds. Collaborating is great. None of us can do this alone. No brand can tackle this alone. This is a systemic issue. So when we see collaboration amongst competitors, that's a really joyous thing. I get excited about that. Let's go back and see if we can find that tab where we had all of those things up at the top there. So we had their give back. They're doing a give back. They've got, let's get to the sustainability tab that's on, we're back to the main site. Back over here, let's go back over and see if we can get a sense of their environmental report. So we'll go to transparency, we'll go to reporting. All of their policies are there as well. If you're in need of finding some good policies, you can probably check that out. So here's their sustainability reports. Remember, this is the place where, and so they're in line with the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. They're using the Global Reporting Initiative, the GRI standards. So kind of doing best in class, doing it all right. Super impressive. So they are including, because I think in Europe, I know in France they do, maybe in Germany as well, but you have to include your sustainability impacts in your financial results. That's good because it forces brands to integrate sustainability into everything they're doing and make it a part of their business, right? But here is their sustainability efforts progress report. This one's from 2016, so I didn't see anything in particular later years here, so we might have to do a little digging on that. Let's go back though and see if we can find on the reporting. Here's a separate environmental report, progress made. So these are their green company reports. And as you can see, it's kind of hard to bounce around, right? You just sort of have to keep jumping from one to the other. It looks like, I guess I'm still in the tab. I'm in transparency. I guess we're in reporting. Health and safety statistics, certificates that they have to carefully track the progress of our environmental initiatives. Yeah, that's interesting. That's good. I guess I really want to go back and see if we can find the actual environmental report. So hold tight. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Once I come over here to the reporting section, I'm going to actually go to the GRI index, their online report here. That's probably where we're going to find, yes, all of their sustainability things. So here's the GRI standards categorization that we would be looking for. So you're going to get all of your basic information here on the company. Sustainability stakeholder dialogue, a letter from the CEO, what's up with their executive board, sustainability transparency. So you've got stakeholder engagement, reporting practices, economic, and we're going to get down here to environmental. So you could go through and click on any one of these to find out what's going on. Energy. For example, let's click on energy impact, see what they're reporting on. It's really robust, right? So you can click to innovation, sustainability, sourcing and supply chain products. They're talking about what's going on with decarbonization. Here's how they're doing. What a really robust report though. This is their 2021 report. Here's all of their environmental footprint, their greenhouse gases for tier 4, tier 3, tier 2, 1, and 0. This is what I was looking for. I recently did a video on Hydro Flask, for example, the water bottles, and they don't give us much information on this. I couldn't find it at least, so maybe they've got it. But this is what we want from companies regardless of what they're making. So even if the input was stainless steel and plastic, theirs just happens to be tier 4 cotton, their yarns, their fabrics, finished goods, logistics, their own operations, end of life, consumer use, all of it is in here. We know where their biggest impacts are, where their emissions are coming from. Look at this. 50, 70, almost 80% of their total greenhouse gases come from the furthest back part of your supply chain, the hardest to reach. This is why it's so important for us to do this good work back there in our supply chain with materials. But they're phasing out coal-fired boilers, increasing adoption of renewable energy, preparing suppliers to purchase renewable energy in Vietnam. You guys, I'm exhausted going through all this. You're exhausted watching all of this. The point is, there is so much good work being done in some of these big companies, Adidas not being the exception. But talking about more sustainable materials, I mean, you can just go on and on and on. Circular services, their packaging, product safety and integrity, what's going on in their own operations. They're talking about climate. They're talking about human rights. They're talking about hazardous chemicals. They're talking about it all. So I love it. And I think this is amazing work, and we could probably go on for another hour or two, but that kind of gives you a highlight, and that's a good way for you to start diving in and asking questions of your favorite brands. So to me, that is amazing. When we dive through and we look at all of that information that is there on the Adidas website, it's just really, really impressive. And I mean, they are tackling kind of everything down the list, all of the environmental issues, all of the social issues, and they're doing it across the entire value chain, from raw material extraction to processing to tier 1 to manufacturing to their own operations, their headquarters, their warehouses, consumer use, all of it. They're even dealing with end of life, circularity, trying to figure out how to innovate and get those materials back into new products again, do it over and over. They're doing give backs, they're partnering with organizations, they're partnering with other brands. I mean, what an exemplary sustainability commitment and effort, I would say. And I know for sure they would not say that they are perfect. And I'm not gonna say they're perfect either. They are making a lot of goods, but at least they seem to be showing us that they're doing it as responsibly as they can. And I think it's the best we can ask for, right? Is that, hey, if you're gonna make something, show us where it came from, how it was made, what the deal is, what kind of impact it has, what you're doing to measure it. We can't ask for a zero impact yet because we're just not even quite there yet, but they are doing that hard work deep in their supply chain, furthest upstream, and for that, we should applaud and give them a great rating. I'm gonna put them on the sustainability meter, despite looking at any particular product, for their effort, for their website, for their communication, for their traceability, their transparency, their commitment to materials, raw materials, manufacturing, closing the loop, addressing chemicals, aligning with all of the right standards, and participating full stakeholder engagement. I actually don't see much that was really missing there. One thing I didn't see in that brief overview, but I bet you I can find it, we didn't really talk about packaging, maybe the poly bag, plastic bag, etc., but or you know whether they're using paper, etc., but you know what, or how they're transporting the goods to you. But that impact is going to be very, very small compared to that big impact that comes from raw materials back in the supply chain. So let's still put Adidas way over here into the green zone. Great job, Adidas. Of course not perfect, of course not sustainable, but wow, probably a really good example that all brands could potentially follow and mimic. If we could, we would all be a lot better off. I'm actually quite sure that. I'm interested to see if Adidas hits their goals for 2025. So shoot, maybe we'll come back and do a video and check in on it. For now, thanks for stopping in. Thanks for tracking another brand with me to see how sustainable Adidas is and to see what their communication is like and to see if we're really getting a sense of are they doing a great job, and they are. If you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe. It really helps us out and it helps me keep to make other videos. Leave comments down below if there's a brand that you want me to check out. If you want to assess something, have a look at it, let me know. And if you want to keep learning about sustainability, download our free guide, 35 things that you must know if you want to become a sustainability expert and get on that path to learning more and being able to break down brands like this and know what to look for on things coming in and how you should message on your message going out. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.